Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm David Fradin, and am calling from Silicon Valley, which is Northern California, about 40 miles south of San Francisco.
Is that where the fires be or no?
No, the fires have been predominantly north of San Francisco and
Okay.
east towards Nevada.
Okay.
And then
Well, that's a good thing.
there's been a few fires east of Los Angeles. And about 4 years ago, we did have a fire in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which is probably about 25 miles from here. But no, we're primarily residential, non-hilly country. So we haven't had any other than maybe some small grass fires in the area.
Thank you for telling me that. Well noted. And tell me about your past, extensive past, leading up into your extensive present, what you do now, because you have over 50 years of history.
So how much time do I have?
We got 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Then I'll give you the short version. Uh, Born and raised in Detroit, went to Cass Technical High School, which is honors high school in aeronautical technology. Went to the University of Michigan in aerospace technology, aerospace engineering, and later interdisciplinary engineering. Started the flying club there, which is still going today, having trained over 5,000 pilots. Many of them are airline pilots, including the head of the Blue Angels. And
Oh
then,
my God, really?
then
I
I was
seen a
asked,
commercial about them.
my aerospace engineering professor asked me to start a national student organization in my sophomore year in favor of an American supersonic transport, and ended by the end of my sophomore year testifying before Congress. And then after the SST got shut down on a strong anti-technology feeling, we retooled the student association to support science and technology, called it FAST, Federation of Americans Supporting Science and Technology, and then took the organization to Washington, D.C. After I graduated a few years later. From there, I was recruited by the Environmental Balance Association of Minnesota, went there to help and develop the field of environmental mediation, an alternative way of resolving economic, energy, and environmental disputes. Helped with the siting of new facilities. HP noticed and hired me and moved me to California, to Silicon Valley, to help them site new facilities around the country. And then I was able to introduce word processing into the corporate PR group because it was the only group of the company that knew how to type at the time. And
Tell
then
me
enabled
about that Hewlett Packard, story. Tell me more about that and how Word was incorporated into that WordPress or whatever you just said.
word processing.
Word processing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had word processing dating back to my FAST organization, and also to the Environmental Balance Association. And so I was quite surprised that the corporate PR department, there was 32 of us, were all using electric typewriters, IBM Selectric typewriters, and not taking advantage of word processing. So I found that a group inside of Hewlett Packard had developed a word processing program that ran on a terminal connected to a HP 3000 mini computer. So I introduced that to the department, had it installed on a mini computer for the department, and then taught all of the people in the department how to use the word processing, such that one of the PR people, they could draft their whatever article or press release they're putting together. They could have their secretary edit it, format it. They could have their management approve it all electronically, and then they could send it out electronically through like PR Newswire or something like that. So
When was this? What year was this?
1980.
Oh my God. Dang. So oh my God. Y'all got one of the newest but oldest because it's in the past processors, and y'all started with that. Was it like a laptop type thing, or was it just a hardcore solid computer like The original one.
Oh, it was a dumb terminal connected to a mini computer through an RS-232 connection. So it was
Okay.
very slow. Dedicated word processors like the Wang, WANG word processor, and a Xerox word processor, the IBM word processor, didn't come out until a few years later. And then they were replaced by PC word processing, predominantly on the Apple II, the Apple III, on the IBM PC, and the Macintosh.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm talking to a guy that knows a lot about computers. All I know is there was a typewriter and then a computer. So, the University of Michigan, let's go back a little bit, aerospace. Can you tell me a little bit about what aerospace do before we get into the juicy stuff, which is your books and everything else you've done?
Well, aerospace is the design of spacecraft and rockets and satellites, which is predominantly what NASA has done up until recently. And now Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and others are involved. In fact, Africa is starting their own space program now. The people that work on these things are aerospace engineers.
Okay. And tell me about like you can continue from where you stopped or go on to tell me, because the last thing you talked about is the Environmental Balance Association, I believe.
Right.
Tell me
Well,
about
that was
that, more about it.
before I joined HP. I was in Minnesota, and there were major environmental disputes going on.
Hmm.
And I mediated the Moorhead, Minnesota Anheuser-Busch Bolthouse dispute that I helped resolve, the oldest environmental conflict at the time, the most expensive, over reserve mining dumping taconite tailings into Lake Superior. So from those experiences of resolving community and environmental and economic disputes that HP recruited me. And I helped them site facilities in California, north of San Francisco, in just outside of Seattle, near Everett, Stevens Creek, Washington, one in Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. And as a result of knowing how to introduce a word processing, I was recruited by another department and another division in office systems to be an office systems product manager. Got trained by them. It got noticed by Apple, who then recruited me to bring the first hard disk drive to market. It was really a cheap hard disk drive. It was only $3,500 and had enormous space, 5 megabytes of space, which we probably consumed in the last 30 seconds of the recording of this podcast. Uh,
Wow.
went
Tell
to
me the
Apple.
difference between the Macintosh. Was the Macintosh still included with the Apple? Because it was still called Apple, or was it called Macintosh?
Well, the company's name at the time was Apple Computing, and we had a personal computer systems division, which had the Apple II and the Apple III, and they were based upon the 6502 processor, which was a 16, no, it was an 8-bit processor. And then Steve Jobs headed up a division that developed the Macintosh, which used a graphical user interface and a mouse. And that was not introduced until 1984. I was at Apple in 1983 and took over at the request of the Personal Computer Systems Division as the group product manager for the Apple III product line, which at the time was the third most successful product in terms of units sold worldwide. First was the Apple II, then there was the DEC PDP-11, and then there's the Apple III. And the Apple III was designed to go into the business market and the office market because of its capabilities of a full-size keyboard with an uppercase caps key, support of a hard disk drive, a letter quality printer, and it could do large spreadsheets. It could do word processing. It could do databases. It could do accounting and other such things.
Now
Then,
tell me, they have so many things come out in the 2024. I was wondering if they had like an item right now where it's a printer embedded in the laptop. Maybe it'll overheat, maybe it won't, but this is a great invention, like a printer that's embedded in the laptop, like 10 pages, 20 pages for a quick print. And if we can make an item like that, and for people who need to do quick prints, is that even on anybody's mind right now?
So now with the advent of electronic mail and things like Google Docs, the amount of printing required has gone down substantially because
Okay.
it can all be done electronic. Like I bought a new HP inkjet printer a year or so ago, and it came with a mandatory ink replenishment service. I forget what they call it. And they wanted
Mhm.
to charge me like $5 a month to send me new cartridges every month.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
I canceled it, and then I went to go print, and I couldn't print because I wasn't paying for their service. So I'm saying, okay, I got $100 printer here that's worthless because I don't print more than maybe 5 pages a month, and they're forcing me to spend $60 a year to print 5 pages a month. There's very little printing going on, especially with the advent of like I said, email and things like Microsoft Word and Google Docs.
What have you learned? Have you even did you get a chance to meet Steve Jobs?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, what did y'all collaborate? I know you said already what y'all, you know, collaborated on, but what was the conversation like, not knowing that Steve Jobs would be like super famous, which he was already in the 80s, but just now that technology is booming, everybody knows who he is. So tell me, how did it feel to collaborate with the guy?
Well, there was two Steve Jobs. There was the bad Steve Jobs in the early days, who was nuts, and then there was the good Steve Jobs after he failed with the Macintosh, after he failed with the Lisa, after he failed with his new computer company after Apple fired him called Next, which I referred to as last, and then and he almost failed with Pixar, and then around 1989, I found when I was researching my book, Building a Sailing Great Products, that he sought out Dave Packard, who's the chairman of the board of Hewlett Packard, one of the co-founders, and got personally mentored by Dave. And one of the things that Dave taught him was the importance of having values in the company and following those values. Another thing he taught Steve, is it's perfectly okay to cannibalize your own products. But my days with him is that he was in a competing division and was trying to shut down the Apple III product line because
Ooh.
he thought it occupied a place in the market that he wanted his beloved Macintosh to go into. So at one point, when I met him, I was out in the field in Southern California. By that time had become the business unit manager of an independent business unit for the Apple III, and so I was calling on dealers in Southern California. I got a call from my boss, and he said, "You got to come back here right away because Steve has called a meeting of the executive committee and wants to shut down the product line and wants to abandon the release of the Apple III Plus, which we had just announced a few weeks earlier." So I came back to Cupertino, walked into the conference room, and Steve was sitting at the end of the table with his smelly bare feet up on the conference table. And they asked me, why can't you cancel the product line? I said, well, we still have inventory. It will cost you billions of dollars. And besides, we've already introduced the product at the Comdex computer conference, and the dealers will just revolt and not carry any Apple products, including the Macintosh, if you guys were to shut it down and not let the market decide, which is what you guys had agreed to do when you asked me to take over the Apple III product line as an independent business unit manager a few months before. So they outvoted Steve, and he had to back down. So I
Oh.
tried to stay as far away from him as I possibly could. And back in those days, there was a story that was going around that he got onto an elevator with somebody and an Apple employee, and he asked the Apple employee, "What do you do?" And the employee told him, and Steve says, "Okay, you're fired." A few months later, uh, uh, that Apple employee gets onto an elevator, and Steve is on there, and he says, "Why are you still here? I thought we fired you." Well, that was kind of silly that that guy would get out of the elevator again with Steve, to be treated like that. So it wasn't until after he came back to Apple in the late 1990s, and he talks about it in his speeches and in his Stanford commencement speech, the importance of having values at a company, which Apple had, and the importance of following those values. And one of those values was good management. And the way he tried to manage by bullying in his early days was not representative of the good management that he employed when he came back to the company.
Question: who was Apple competitors, when the computer first came out, when the Apple 2 or Apple 1 or 3 came out?
Well, when they started in 1978, the Apple II was all by itself as the personal computer. And then the number one competitor was Commodore, later Osborne, and then Compact. And then finally, I forget exactly when, I think it's around 1981 that IBM came out with its PC and later its PC XT. So we had to compete against all of those guys.
Wow. And that must have been tough. So let's kind of like move on to talk about the books that you've written. Tell me about how many books you've written and what is the main books that you wanted to discuss today.
I think the books and the workbooks that I've published, they're all available on Amazon. Just search for my name as an author and they'll all pop up. A book I did a few years ago called Building Insanely Great Products, and it's the story of how to have product success. Then I wrote a book for CEOs and the CXO board on how to organize and manage for insanely great products. And then a book that Wiley, the textbook publisher, has published called Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit, which is a little pamphlet. It's only 796 pages long, and it's used in 7-month executive education programs at two leading universities in India. And thousands of people have gone through that book, that textbook. I also have a number of in person training classes covering such things as marketing, product market strategy, innovation, design thinking, things like that. And my number one client is Cisco, and I and my instructors
Mm.
have trained close to half of all the product managers at Cisco worldwide, including their product managers in Europe and in India.
How did you manage to get your books to India? Like that had to be hard. That's like worldwide right there. That's like, collaborating, internationally. How did you manage that?
Well, I met a fellow by the name of R.N. Prasad, who was a head of training and product management at Infosys,
Hmm.
which was, I think it still is, the largest contracting company for IT worldwide. And he had heard that I was going to Singapore to train the government of Singapore and the entrepreneurs in Singapore on how to build insanely great products. So he asked if he could fly down from Bangalore and attend those that week-long session, which he did. And he had published a book on big data and analytics through Wiley. So he introduced me to the publisher, and the publisher in turn made a contract with me for the book Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit.
Wow, that is amazing, man. And how many weeks is it for? Like, is it like a 1 day class or is it like a 7 week to 8 week project class? How does it
Well,
work?
most universities have a class once or twice a week for 7 months. And they just
Okay.
work their way through the book. The book has not only the theory that I teach, but also quizzes, numbers of examples, and exercises that they do as part of the entire course. It's taught at IITML, which is the predominant business school in India, similar to what we know Harvard to be. and it's also taught by Lovely Professional University in another part of the country.
You just a regular McGraw-Hill. Does this come in like Indian like language, or does it come in English and they are advanced where they have a secondary language which is English and their first language is Indian or however, you know.
Dozens of Indian dialects throughout the country, but no, the book is in English, and not the King's English. It's an American English from Detroit.
Okay, and teach me something about your marketing. We talked about this prior to the show. So you wanted to teach me something, and we got like 9 minutes to go. So you have 4 minutes, and you have the floor to teach me something about one of your books.
Well, the theme through my books is the 5 keys to product success, and the name of my company, Spice, is a mnemonic for those 5 keys. The S stands for a product market strategy, and a market is a place you go to buy something, like a grocery store. Marketing is the activity to get people to go to that market and buy something. So there are 32 components of a product market strategy, ranging from understanding what it is your customer wants to do, to your competitive research, your market research, the personas of the people that or the companies you expect to buy your product positioning, the value proposition, the minimum value proposition for the product, as a pricing strategy, distribution strategy, and so forth. The P stands for repeatable processes in the development of the product or service. The I stands for having the right information in order to make intelligent decisions about the product in the market. And the C is the most important of the spice, which is your customer. Understanding what it is that your customer wants to do, when they want to do it, where they want to do it, how they want to do it, what's standing in their way, how important is it for them to get it done, and how satisfied are they with the current way of getting that particular thing done. And then the E is making sure that you have within your organization the 130 competencies or skill sets necessary for product success.
Okay, and diving more into that, give me an example. I told you I was going to ask you. Give me an example of something stalling.
Something what?
Something like stalling in the marketing business. You can ask, answer however you want. It's an open dialogue. Because people want to know how do things get stalled in the marketing business? How do things get stalled? And what things can be stalled in marketing? What kind of businesses get stalled and don't get to rise up to, where they should be?
Well, it's products that fail in the marketplace are the products that lack a product market strategy, lack repeatable processes, lack the information necessary, lack the understanding of what it is that your customer wants to do, and or lacks the skill sets and the competencies necessary to have product or service success. And you'd asked me earlier to illustrate an example of a product or
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead.
and I would say Truth Social is one of those. Here is a thing that's been hyped based upon the perception that the guy behind it is a successful businessman, which he's not and never has been. He's lost more money than most businessmen lose in their entire lifetime. And they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year. It's run by a former congressman from California. The product sometimes simply doesn't work. It's not clear what it does, and what it does for. And I think it has only something like 800,000 users. When you look at Twitter, there are hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
users.
Yeah.
Facebook has hundreds of millions of users, and so forth. So I think it's just a matter of time before the money runs out, and the poor suckers that bought the stock at $70 a share, and it was trading just recently down around $12 a share. It's gone back up to over $25 a share now. But I suspect immediately after the election, it will crash and will be practically worthless.
Well said. Where do you see, like, because for instance, you got the Apple glasses where you can swipe and use your hands to zoom in, zoom out. Um, do you think the glasses is going to be incorporated in the next wave of technology?
Yeah, to some extent, but it can't be as big and as bulky as the Provision or as expensive
Yeah,
as.
yeah, I agree.
I think it's got to be down around a few $100s. I think one of the
Exactly.
key value propositions is you can just look through the glass and adjust it based upon your vision without having to go to an ophthalmologist to check your eyes out. And you could maybe say push a button or say something, and it will switch to reading glasses, long distance glasses. I would love to have a camera in it, so as I'm walking along or driving along, and I want to take a video or a picture of something, I could, snap that picture and save it. That kind of thing, I think we'll see. Probably won't be for another 5 or 10 years. And any kind of application where you got hands busy, eyes busy type of environment, that kind of virtual reality and augmented reality could be very valuable.
Yeah, I think it should be something set up, like for instance, when you go for your glasses, a glass like your eye check, they kind of like tune in and see which side, I think it should be embedded within the glasses. All that technology, it should be embedded in the glasses to see where your eyes is, like are you farsighted, are you nearsighted, and whatever else the case may be. But I think this is a great idea. I hate to get rid of the babies of all babies, which is our computers. It's just a new wave and a new upgrade, and I feel like this is really what evolution is about. And I really appreciate, Mark Zuckerberg, doing what he do, Apple doing what they do. I just don't understand why Apple is, saying that it's $3,000 for the glasses. You know,
Quite a bit of
um,
technology in
yeah,
there and expensive components. And until we start getting more volume, the cost is not going to start coming down until that occurs. But
where
I
do you
remember back
see? Go ahead.
back in the 70s, um, Hamilton Standard, who was building diagnostic equipment for American tanks, fighting vehicles, invented a pad like an iPad, specifically that you would plug into your tank. It would run electronic diagnostics on it. We now have that in all of our cars, and then it would give instructions to the technician on how to fix it. Well, it'd be nice if you had that in your glasses so you could see on the screen the instructions on whatever it is that you're looking at on how to fix it. So, technicians, automotive assembly workers, and other product assembly workers could use such a thing. And in fact, these products are now being used for that. There's the whole field of digital twins where heart surgeons are able to scan and build a digital 3D version of your heart before they go in and do surgery. And then they can be projected with the Provision, and they can actually practice the operation before they actually do it, and or have another surgeon that's not in the same room, maybe around the country or around the world, assist with the surgery with that kind of visualization.
That is very innovative. Oh my God, that is very innovative. I don't know about everyone else, but I love technology. We're helping save lives and everything. So where do you see yourself with your 19, I believe you said 19 books going in the future?
Well, I will continue to consult product success, teach product success. Some of my courses are available off of my website, spicecatalyst.com, on demand through Udemy and through several other companies. And my mission is to increase the chances of product success because about 35% of all new products each year fail, representing
Yep.
a waste of on $1 trillion. And the result of that is if we can have better product success, companies can get a better return on their investment, hopefully to pay their people more and also to help pay for cleaning up the environment and reducing the catastrophes as a result of climate change.
Do you believe that your books will end up like in universities here in the United States? Have they ended up here yet or no?
Only two universities in the United States that teach product management, Santa Clara University and University of Wisconsin. Uh, and the reason for that is Apple had a big influence on Santa Clara University, including the former president and chairman of the board of Apple, Mike Markkula, has the Markkula School of Ethics at Santa Clara. And then the guy that founded Intuit went to the University of Wisconsin and he gave them a grant in order to teach product management there. As the MBA schools begin to recognize the importance of teaching product success
Yeah.
rather than just the MBA courses, I think we'll see the book show up in those universities over time.
How can the people reach you, Mr. Fradin?
You can go to Spice Catalyst. My email address there is Dave at Spice Catalyst. You can connect with me at on LinkedIn. Just search for my name and connect with me there.
Okay, and would you like to leave the audience with any other innovative technologies that you believe that is going to, in the next 5 to 10 years, come out? Because I was just talking about this on my show earlier about the Optimus Robo uh what is it, robots, the robots, and then the robo taxis. That's going to be a really big thing. And the Optimus robo or robot is going for like 20 to 30,000. That's the starting price for it, and I think it's going to be worth it for those who want that type of device, because they said it's like talking to uh modern day, person at on a Zoom meeting, a very intellectual modern day person on a Zoom meeting, and they have to know a lot, like I know Elon Musk is going to make sure that this robot can talk to you on a, you know toe-to-toe basis, where it's not going to be like Siri, where if you, because I've tested Siri before, and there's certain things, dialogues that you can't say to Siri don't understand it. And I hope that it doesn't be that way with the robot. What is your input?
So early October of the Tesla robot, turns out that there were humans operating each of those robots. And were conduct-
Oh
it was a fraud.
Dang, I didn't know that. I see, you know more than me. I didn't know. I just look what I read on the World Wide Web and I go with that. Oh my God. So
I
dang.
mentioned earlier, one of our competitors at Apple was Commodore, which was a company that used to be a mechanical typewriter company founded by a fellow by the name of Jack Tramiel. And he would have press conferences every few months and announce products that he never shipped. And he went out of business just a few years later. Um, Elon Musk is doing the same kind of thing. He announced a Roadster, what was it, about 4 or 5 years ago. Still no word on when it's going to ship. His robo taxi, which is probably as a cross between the Cybertruck and a Tesla, is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And then he's faking people out with his little humanoid robots. He's never shipped anything on time. And I think when the rest of the automotive companies, particularly the ones from Europe that have to build nothing but electric vehicles starting, I think, around 2030, he's going to be facing a lot of stiff competition against his false promises that he hasn't delivered. So I think his wealth, which is predominantly held in Tesla stock, is going to be decimated over the next 5 years. But to answer your earlier questions of what kinds of changes do I see, I've identified 16 things which I call the perfect storm, which are going to cause major technological innovation. One of which, of course, is climate change. Another is autonomous vehicles. Another one is innovations in food production, distribution, consumption, and disposal. Another one is dealing with other worldwide pandemics like COVID with mRNA uh, vaccines. Another one is gene splicing. Another one is, we already mentioned earlier, which is augmented and virtual reality. Another one is the more accurate use of big data analytics and wisdoms of crowds. And that's where Siri will get a lot smarter in the next few months with the use of Apple artificial intelligence. Another one is the digital twins, like I mentioned in the example of modeling the human body. So you can then test drugs on the body without having to go through these large test suites. Another one is 3D printing. A cousin of mine in the Ukraine, my grandfather was born and raised there. Uh, he's a software programmer on video games. He's got 3D printers and he's printing fins for hand grenades, which is used by the Ukraine forces to drop from drones onto the invading Russians. Another one is artificial intelligence. Another one is we're going to continue birth rate changing. Japan is, and now China is struggling to convince their population to have more babies because as they get older, particularly in Japan, they're going to need that humanoid robot from Elon Musk and others to take care of their seniors. Another one is a digital transformation as we continue to move from physical to digital ways of doing things. The Internet of Things, marketing automation, which will, of course, incorporate a lot of artificial intelligence, technology and platform innovation, ways to fund and fuel the artificial intelligence factories, which have tens of thousands of computers in one site. I think it was Google just signed a contract to buy multiple nuclear reactors in order to power their data centers for AI. And lastly, which we talked about earlier, is robotics. So there are new product and new service opportunities in each of those 16 areas, including where some of them cross over with each other.
Wow, we should call you the innovative guy. Oh my God, the psychic innovative guy. You know exactly what's going to happen for the future. And I believe being around Apple, Hewlett Packard, and all these great places, you develop your own workbook, 7 months to infiltrate that workbook in India. And it was a pleasure talking to you. Stay on the line. Do you have anything else you would like to add? Because I just enjoy talking to you.
No, that's about it.
Okay. So stay on the line. Thank you everybody for joining my show. You guys take care, be safe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.